What's up, everybody, and welcome to the show. Today, I just have one question for you guys. Can black people be racist? Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, of course they can. Anybody can be racist. But let's talk about what exactly racism is. And it is the systemic oppression of one race by another dominant race due to the belief that they are superior to that other race. So if you think about any type of system in the world or in this country specifically, there are none run by black people in which they oppress another race. But we can surely think of some that definitely discriminate and oppress other races, particularly races of color. So first, let's start with the criminal justice system. Now, when we're going to talk about the criminal justice system, I feel it makes the most sense to start way back in 1877 when we had the start of Jim Crow South. Now, the Jim Crow South were laws that legally enforced racial segregation in the South from the end of Reconstruction at 1877 all the way up until 1950 when we had the Civil Rights Movement. In 1896, actually, we had the Plessy versus Ferguson trial that declared that separate but equal was constitutional, although the facilities for black people were of lesser value and lesser quality than the facilities for white people. Now, there's a lot we can get into on Jim Crow and New Jim Crow South, but maybe I'll do that in another video. I want to bring it up to where we are currently right now. And right now, black people are 12.5% of drug users in the country, but they are 29% of those arrested for drug use and 33% of those incarcerated for drug use. And black women are double the rate of white women incarcerated in prison right now. And although those numbers have been on the decline for the last 15 years, they're still disproportionate compared to the numbers of white people incarcerated. This is another little known fact. I feel it's something that a lot of you may know. It's something that I knew for a pretty long time, and it is that black and brown people are 5 to 6 more times likely to be incarcerated in the country, even though they commit crimes at the same rate as white people. To put that in perspective, that means that 1 in every 10 black kids has a parent that is incarcerated compared to 1 in every 60 white kids that has a parent that is incarcerated. One area that I want to highlight in particular is Harris County, Texas, where 2 judges are responsible for sending 1/5 of the juveniles to prison, even though the rest of the state's numbers are on the decline when it comes to juveniles being incarcerated. And when you combine the 3 judges in all of Harris County, out of all the children that they have sent to prison, 96% of them are black. So I don't even have anything else to add to that. There's not much more I can say. Just pretty much, if you're a black teen coming through the criminal justice system in Harris County, Georgia, there's a 96% chance you're going to get, or I'm sorry, Harris County, Texas, there's a 96% chance that you're going to be incarcerated. I don't know what category you would put this under or what system you would call this. Maybe it's still under the criminal justice banner, but as I spoke in episode 3 on the midterm elections, we have the election system, I guess you can call it, where in Georgia we had Secretary of State Brian Kemp, who was the head of the election process for the state of Georgia, where we were seeing that 53,000 votes, absentee ballots, were being purged, and 70% of those were black. There again, we have another system in which it was ran by white people, or is ran by white people, that oppressed black people. Next, let's talk about the banking and financial system, I guess you could say. Right now, black and brown people are 5 to 6 more times likely to be denied loans. Specifically, we see this in places like North Carolina, where in Greensboro, they're 2.2 times more likely. In Greenville, North Carolina, they're 3.1 times more likely. And in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, they are 5.6 times more likely to be denied for loans. And even though minorities only make up 1/4 of the population in these areas. I want to take it back again. In terms of the banking and financial system, in the 1930s, surveyors for the Federal Homeowners Loan Corporation used red pen and drew lines on maps and shaded in certain areas that were populated by black people and Jewish immigrants. This became known as redlining, and they deemed these places hazardous due to black people and Jewish immigrants in these areas. So to try to simplify exactly what redlining is the bank saying we're not going to loan to these people because they're probably black, brown, and Jewish people, other minorities, but we will loan to people over here because they're probably white people. And the reason that is so important and significant in our history is that it created a pattern of hindering black people and other minorities from getting out of poverty and getting into better neighborhoods. And then it led to the economic decline of the area that they were forced to stay in. Now, I want to be brief with this last part because I don't have much time left. And this may come as a surprise, but black people are also discriminated against when it comes to the medical system and the healthcare system. According to Harvard University, black people experience more premature death, have worse outcomes, and experience more illness compared to other people. And more specifically, according to the New England Journal, black women experience the worst outcomes when it comes to heart attacks and heart-related issues. I believe this is due to the implicit biases that these medical professionals have when they're coming up in medical school, when they're being trained, and they're taught and trained a certain way, and then they unknowingly participate in a discriminatory and racist system when it comes to treating these patients. So to wrap this up, I don't want this to seem like, I'm playing the victim for black people. Oh, woe is me, we're picked on, this, that, and the third. It's never like that. But what it is my knowledge and understanding that there are so many systems in this world and in this country that are designed for us not to succeed, and also designed more specifically for us to fail. Now, of course, black people can have feelings toward other race. They can have feeling towards white people. They can dislike other people. We can even dislike our own people, but that's a whole nother topic. But when it really becomes racism is when you then have that power, when you have that feeling and then you have a power to affect somebody's life, to change somebody's life. When white people go to a bank, they don't have to worry about getting denied for a loan, but when we go to a bank, we certainly do. When we go through the criminal justice system, we don't have to worry about, or we do have to worry about probably getting incarcerated more likely than a white person, because like I said, we commit crimes at the same rate, but we are disproportionately incarcerated. So to me, racism only really means something when it can affect change and when it can impact somebody else's life. Me disliking white people could never do anything to them, but white people disliking black people could certainly do something to them. We see what it does in all types of system, whether it's a policeman, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a judge, whether it's an attorney, whether it's a teacher. So you can say all you want, oh, anybody, can hate anyone, this, that, and the third. That's just purely prejudice. But it becomes racism when in a system I have the ability to change your life and affect you in a very substantial way. And one last thing, if you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, that's fine too. But to those who disagree with me, I challenge you to change my mind. As I said before, I'm open to other opinions, thoughts, and ideas. I'm not above hearing somebody else. I'm not above hearing an opinion that's different than mine. So if you want, comment in the section, hit me up on social media, whatever it is, and let me know what your stance is on this and how you feel about this. Because if we go our entire lives filtering what we only want to hear, then we can never change and we can never grow and we can never be better. Thanks for watching.